I called to order the meeting of Verona Common Council for Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we'll have the roll.
Alderperson Cronin.
Present.
Alderperson Helmke.
Present.
Alderperson Hoax.
Present.
Alderperson Kemp.
Here.
Alderperson Posey.
Here.
And Alderperson Tucker Long.
Here.
And then Alderpersons Kimmett and Touche are absent and excused.
All right, we will move on to item 4, which is public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so. We can start maybe on this side. I saw at least 2 hands over here. It'll stay open until everyone gets a chance. So whoever wants to. Sure.
My name is Natalie, and I'm a member of Girl Scout Troop 8201. We live here in Verona, and we did our Bronze Award service project by making a video called Recycling Correctly about the importance of recycling here in the city of Verona. When we look at our community, we see a lot of waste that doesn't have to be thrown away. Litter on the street or in the streams, food waste that could be composted, and items that could be recycled that end up in the trash. We wanted to do something about it. We will show you the video soon, but first my other Girl Scout troop members are going to share why this is important to them.
Hello, I'm Addie, and I'm going to talk about why recycling is so important. First of all, it's bad for us because if a fish ate plastic, then we eat the fish. We eat that plastic. Also, if your favorite animal is a deer, for example, the deer will eat trash, die, and one day it could become extinct. We need to start recycling to help protect our animals.
Hi, my name is Izza, and I'm here to talk to you about what recycling means to me. Recycling means a lot to me because my generation is inheriting this planet from yours, and some people are creating a mess for us to clean up. But it will be too late for us to fix once we're in charge, so we need you to help us fix it now. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Adele. I'm here to talk to you about pollution. It's not right that people are trashing our planet and not realizing that they're harming the world. This is going to be our generation's planet, but if this keeps up, there may not be much of a planet left when all of us are older and in charge. Some adults are closing their eyes and trying to believe that deforestation, pollution, and litter aren't affecting the world at all, but this isn't true. But if we take small steps now, things will get better. Just start recycling more. You can start by picking up 5 pieces of plastic around your home every day, then move on to 6, 7, 8, as many recyclables as you can, and always keep in mind that you're making a difference. But none of us can do this alone. We have to work together, cooperate, and keep caring if we want to make a big difference. We can all work side by side, and we can make a difference. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Chloe, and I'm going to talk about why we should save the Earth. Everyone knows what carbon dioxide is. It's the stuff you breathe out. But imagine how much comes from machinery and factories. It's a lot. And trees take in that carbon dioxide, and they help us by giving us fresh air. But we cut them down. Too much of it. Like, we don't need that much. And this should stop. Also, some people think that if they do nothing about pollution and climate change and so on, other people will fix it. But if everyone thinks that, nothing good is going to come out of it. And we might have too big of a mess that we cannot fix anymore. But we can pull people out of that mindset. It's not too late if we get everyone possible on a board. Everyone can make a difference if they try, and it's not too late to start. Thanks for your time.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm going to show you the video. You can now press play.
All right, Andy, you ready? Can you see? All right, let's try this. We do not have sound. Andy, any luck in the sound? I don't think so. Nope.
Unless it's on, no, it's on.
Nope. Let's try it one more time, Andy. Let me know when you're ready.
Did you know that the United States produces the most trash in the entire world? In our city of Verona, Wisconsin, it's estimated that we threw away 3,000 tons of trash. Great question. That's the same as 428.5 ounces. Here's something even crazier. 13% of that trash that Verona threw away could have been recycled. You're kidding. It's 55 elephants of recyclables. That's a lot of elephants. So why should we care? This is our planet. We have to live here for the rest of our lives. There is no planet B. Well, what can we do to help them? You can know what you can and can't recycle. So this is recyclable, right? Well, not exactly. It has carbon in it. This one, on the other hand, it's clean and made out of paper, so you can recycle it. I don't think this one's going to be able to, though. Here, this is a reusable coffee service. It's better for the earth. You all know that plastic water bottles are recyclable, right? These are good because they're recyclable, but these are even better. These are reusable and washable, so you can use it more than once. This pizza box is made out of cardboard. That means it's recyclable, right? Well, let's take a closer look. See that grease in it? That grease is not recyclable. So we have to throw away the entire box. Well, there's the any reason this one. It looks fine. Oh yeah, that's true. Here you go. So for this box, I can just rip off the top, right? Since the top part is recyclable? Yeah. These are recyclable, right? No. These channel electricity, which means it's not recyclable. At least I think. Let me tell you. Wait. Before you throw anything into any bins, let me tell you. These electronics, they are recyclable, but you can't put them directly into a bin. There are certain places that you pick up or you can drop off electronics, and some places have special events where you can take all of your electronics and give them to them. If you live in Verona too, check out Pelletari's website for details on what you can and can't recycle. Make sure you check your local recycling company's website for details, because they can be different in each town. Remember to know what you can and can't recycle. If we don't change the ways now, we might not be able to change them later. You can recycle better, reduce waste, and reuse items. You can pick up trash in our waterways. You can compost food scraps. You can plant trees. Even small steps can save the earth. You can make a difference. Now's the time to start.
All right, we are still in public comment, so if anyone else wishes to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Hello. Pardon. I am Raya Leonard, advocating for the posting of pride flags by the city this Pride Month. I would like to share something about why this matters and why you should care. On a bright, shining Thursday morning, just 6 months ago, my friend Avery came to me in tears. Mortified, struck, and standing like a leaf in the wind, I knew it the instant I saw their face. It becomes familiar. There are few things that hurt so incredibly deep. Sobbing, they reached out to me. As they tried to force the words out or simply to find them, they shook vigorously. Quaking, I embraced them. I could feel their pain. All over your body, that deep void in your chest, that pulling at your throat, and that weakness in your legs, volcanic tears stinging like acid as they come out into a crueler world than their own. Do you know that feeling? The ripping away of what little faith you have left, shearing the stubborn fibers of your soul until it's shown bare. Each second coming closer to an end and sudden awareness of that imminent fate. No more simply busy days. It makes you want to scream to the sky, forsake God and join them. Yet all you can bring yourself to do is wallow and cry. We were in school. Their dear friend, one of our peers, had left this world. Sawyer Tavi Gracia was pronounced dead on November 11th, 2022. I beg you, remember their name. Sawyer was loved. Sawyer had a family. Yet those two things, at least in part, were separate. That word we hear so often nowadays, acceptance, that would have changed his fate. When I sit across from you now, I aim to show you this. Here is your chance to make a difference in the worlds of your children and save the lives of my friends. Imagine just for 1 second if that child was yours. Now, know that it could be, and know that you might not even know. Council, you must understand, even that day, most didn't care. There was no reaction, nothing to say Sawyer had even passed, save for an email from the district and the shattered hearts of all his friends. Council, you must understand that is the state for most of us. Death has become our neighbor, suicide the same as any other day, yet it never leaves just one casualty. It's easier to do if no one cares, and I promise that currently, it will become a tragedy we get used to. Don't let it. I beg you to show your acceptance, if not your support. This June, please take a stand and show our pride, for it is the only way we cannot be afraid. Stand along our side in the great melting pot, and together we will not swelter in the heat. Remember Sawyer's name, and know that they are now gone. United, we stand. Thank you.
Thank you. We are still in public comment. If any other members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so.
Can I ask a quick question before I start?
On procedure, yeah, sure.
The Girl Scouts just reminded me that we used to have a task force in Verona, a sustainability task force. Does that still exist?
It does.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Cohen, and I live in the Hawthorne Hills neighborhood over by Glacier Edge. Thanks for the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm here to thank you for your continued support over the past few years in proclaiming the first Friday of June National Gun Violence Awareness Day and Wear Orange weekend in Verona. Mayor Diaz will be reading some statistics in the Wear Orange proclamation a little bit later in the meeting, but I just want to highlight two that aren't on the proclamation. Firearms are now the #1 cause of death for children and teens in the U.S. and Wisconsin. This is more than car accidents, cancer, and poisonings. We hear a lot about mass shootings, and people are freaked out. What we don't hear about on the national news is the violence that affects Black and brown communities, as well as gun suicide. I joined Moms Demand Action in 2018 after the Parkland shooting in Florida. The most startling fact that I learned after joining was that 65% of gun violence in Wisconsin is suicide. Gun violence is preventable. By securing firearms, we can prevent unintentional shootings and prevent people in crisis from using an unsecured firearm. Be Smart is an educational program that promotes responsible gun ownership to reduce child gun deaths. SMART stands for S, secure all your firearms in your home and vehicles. M, model responsible behavior around firearms. A, ask about the presence of unsecured firearms in other homes. R, recognize the role of firearms in suicide. And T, tell peers to be smart. I've shared this information with the school district and the school board, but it has not been shared through the district yet. Other school districts in Dane County have shared it through parent newsletters. It's completely not political, it's just about safety. So I left some information with Mara that it would be great if the city of Verona might consider putting the link to Be Smart on the website. We all need to come together to end gun violence. This year for Wear Orange, Moms Demand Action is partnering with Public Health Madison and Dane County. We're meeting Friday, June 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m. At Meadowood Park. And it'll be a block party with food, music, community speakers, and kids' activities. So please join us, stop by the Moms Demand Action or Be Smart tables and learn more about us. Just in wrapping up, I also wanted to mention I'm working on an open conversation about guns in our community in Verona. It's not a Moms Demand Action event, but it's informed by my volunteer work. And I'm partnering with Mike Ely, who's a gun owner. He organized a talk in the town of Verona back in August. We've been in touch with Sheriff Barrett's office, and we have his support. It's not expert panel. It's just an open conversation talking about concerns and what's out there. It's on September 7th at the VFW building, and once I have all the details, I will share it with the Common Council. It'd be great to have some of you in the audience just listening. So thanks again for your time and your service.
Thank you. We are still in public comment, so if anyone else wishes to speak, it would be the time to do so. All right, seeing no one else approaching the microphone, we will move on to item 5, approve the minutes from the May 8th, 2023 Common Council meeting. Questions, comments, or motions to approve?
Move to approve.
Motion by Alder Tucker Long. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Humke. Last chance for corrections to the minutes. Seeing no hands up, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the May 8th, 2023 Common Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 6, which is mayor's business. I have 2 things for you. First off, Alder Kimmett, who is out sick tonight, has requested that the city fly the pride flag. Currently, we don't have a flag policy at all for the city. And there, with our attorney in the room, there is a fair amount of case law over what cities can and cannot do. We are currently in the process of adopting a policy, or city staff is looking into it. And so we expect to have something done before the end of the month, which would allow a pride flag to be flown without the city putting itself at risk of a lawsuit. I know it's kind of frustrating. I find it personally frustrating because we tend to move a lot slower than the private sector, but that's the nature of democracy. So, but if anyone's curious. And then my second thing is, as noted during public comment, is the proclamation that I'm going to read, declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Verona, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to end the public health crisis. Whereas every day, more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 17,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries, and whereas in Wisconsin, there are 678 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 11.5 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $8.4 billion each year, of which $144.3 million is paid by taxpayers. Wisconsin has the 37th highest rate of gun deaths in the United States. And whereas gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities, and whereas cities across the nation, including in Verona, Wisconsin, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is a mayor's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories, and whereas mayors and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe, and whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. Whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and on June 2nd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hadia Pendleton and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose the color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other humans when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join the campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd, the first Friday in June in 2023, to help raise awareness about gun violence, and whereas by wearing orange on June 2nd, 2023, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors, and whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them, and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Luke Diaz of the City of Verona, Wisconsin, declare the first Friday in June, that is June 2nd, 2023, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. And that concludes Mayor's business. We will move on to item 7, which is announcements. Any announcements from the council? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 8, Administrative Report. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. Just a few items tonight. Next Plan Commission meeting will be held on June 5th at 6:30 p.m. And lastly, we are in the process of collecting bicycle counts throughout the city. So if you see cameras kind of mounted at specific locations, mostly along the bike trail, that's the city doing that. They should be marked as AECom or City of Verona. If you have any questions on those, happy to answer those, but we're collecting that data because we don't have the data. We need it for grants, and we also need it for our bike-friendly community application. And that's all I have. I'd be happy answering questions.
Any questions for Mr. Sayre? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to the engineer's report. Ms. Fisher.
Thank you. For the County Highway PD Turn Lane Extension Project, just a reminder that daily lane closures on eastbound and westbound PD from Windswept Way to Northern Lights Road from approximately 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., as well as extended lane closures through various weekends are planned to complete the work. For the Well 6 nitrate treatment design, pilot testing continues. 100% plans and specifications are being prepared for an early June submittal, with a submittal to the state planned for mid-June. For the Eastview Road and Elm Street reconstruction project, the project area is currently being surveyed with design to start after survey is complete. The project includes Eastview Road, Green Meadow to Elm Street, Eastview Court, and Elm Street. The work is anticipated to include sanitary sewer and water main replacement, upgrading storm sewer, and replacing the roadway section. Design is anticipated to take place in 2023 and constructed in the 2024 season. And finally, for the Woods at Cathedral Point Phase 5, that project has been permitted, and we are in the process of scheduling a pre-construction conference, and that work will begin soon. With that, I can take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Fisher? Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 10, which is committee report. First up, we have 10A, which is Finance Committee. Alder Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion for the payment of the bills in the amount of $808,424.82.
Motion by Alder Kemp. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Humke. Alder Kemp.
Yes, first we have a payment of $223,825 to AECom for various projects for the city. We have a payment of $70,000 to the Verona Chamber of Commerce for our first quarter room tax. And finally, we have a payment of $176,541 to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for County Highway M projects.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on the motion to pay the bills? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount specified, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Anything further from Finance?
Nothing further.
Excellent. We move on to 10B, which is Plan Commission. Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 23-016 for a final plat located west of Shady Oak Lane and north of County Highway PD, with the condition of the final plat shall have private alleys labeled as fire lanes. And do we discuss the second one as well? Okay. And the final plat shall be effective upon approval of the floodplain modifications by state and federal agencies.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Kemp. Alder Posey.
The Plan Commission discussed the plat on May 1st, 2023. Comments from the Plan Commission included if the floodplain study was completed and if the applicant resolved DNR's comments. Carla Fisher explained that the base model is being updated as previous improvements to bridges done by the county or town were not included in the model. These modifications would not impact the final plat. The Plan Commission voted 5-0 to recommend the Common Council approve the final plat for the Ardent Glen subdivision to create 102 single-family and townhome parcels and 12 outlots, with condition A of the final plat shall have the private alleyways listed as fire lanes, and staff is recommending the additional condition of the final plat becoming effective upon the floodplain modifications by the state and federal agencies.
Thank you. I'll start off with a question. I guess, Ms. Fisher, is all the paperwork in order?
Yeah, so the DNR had asked the developer to extend the model, and we're doing the modeling on behalf of the city, actually. So extend the model up through the Shady Oak Lane Bridge. As was noted, that bridge was not in the current model in its current format, and it was a DOT project, just to clarify. It just wasn't updated in the model. So they asked us to update that in the existing conditions model, and then it stays the same in the proposed conditions since no proposed work is proposed for that bridge. And so the results show then still no impact off of the property for Ardent Glen, so it doesn't change the end result. That study was resubmitted with that, the extents expanded to the north on Friday, so then the DNR will probably take 30 days to review. It sounds like they're a little bit short-staffed, but I would expect that any comments that they have are we've gotten the initial comments, we've worked through those. It's following the typical process that we would see, and I wouldn't expect major changes now that we've gotten those limits agreed upon with them.
Excellent. Thank you. Other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving resolution number 23-016, approving a final plat located west of Shady Oak Lane and north of County Highway PD with the conditions specified in the packet, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
And that motion passes with Alder Cronin voting no. Anything further from Plan Commission?
Nothing further.
Excellent, thank you. We will move to 10C, which is Public Safety and Welfare Committee. My understanding is we didn't have a committee meeting. I guess could Chief Dresser give us a summary on the first item?
So the first item we were to discuss this evening was an application for a liquor license premises amendment for Toot and Kate's. They want to include outdoor seating on the stoop and the terrace area. Some of you may recall that this was discussed in 2020, and in 2020 it was approved with 4 contingencies. One of those contingencies was that it was going to expire November 15 of 2020. So it's been expired for some time now, and we never circled back. So just recently, it was brought to the city's attention that there were tables and chairs set on the terrace in front of Toot and Kate's, and it's right on the curb line of South Main Street, and they thought that was a safety hazard. So upon reviewing what was approved last time, realized it was expired. The police department's looked into it. We have no problem with the seating on the stoop. It makes sense. They have an agreement with the neighboring business. Our stance has not changed from 2020. Our stance in 2020 and our stance today is that seating on the terrace, which is essentially the curb line for South Main Street, to us feels like an unnecessary risk. When you're drinking alcohol and you're right on the traffic pattern, you have somebody fall off the curb, fall into the street, potentially a tragedy waiting to happen. In 2020, those same discussions were had, and ultimately they were approved to have seating on the terrace with the 4 contingencies. One being only the terrace area of the sidewalk will be used for seating, meaning not the sidewalk. Liability insurance and identification of the city as recommended by the city administrator and city attorney will be in place. I do have a copy of insurance that Toot and Kate's currently carry, and the city of Verona is listed as a party. I'm not sure about the identification. We would need to take a closer look at that. The third item was the premises description amendment will be effective until November 15th of 2020, which has expired. And then the final one that was added after the council had discussion was that the final approval with amendments authorized the additional space in the front stoop area of the building and the sidewalk terrace from 6:30 p.m. until close on weekdays, and from opening hours until close on Saturdays and Sundays. And with those contingencies, it passed in 2020. I think the idea there was on weekdays that you have heavier traffic volume, or the belief that there's heavier traffic volume, and if they didn't put the tables and chairs out until 6:30, that would add to safety, or at least make it less dangerous. And so here we are, 3 years later, roughly. Our recommendation is we approve the seating on the stoop. I still have the same reserves about using the terrace for seating.
Thank you for that explanation. I will open it up to discussion for the council. Questions, comments, or motions? Alder Kemp.
I have a question. I'm trying to recall, this was during the pandemic, so did we allow any other businesses to use any of the terraces anywhere in the city besides Toot and Kate's?
Chief Trusser, Mr. Sayer?
Does not sound familiar to me.
Cahoots, maybe? No, I don't.
That's in their parking lot.
Yeah, that's
At
what I
a
thought.
parking
Okay, I'm
lot.
just kind of talking out loud
Yeah.
here. That's the only one I can think of.
Alder Cronin.
Is there a reason to keep the not till 6:30 if it's just seating on the stoop, not the terrace? Like, could they put those tables out sooner? Because they open, I think, at 2 or 3 in the afternoon?
No, I agree. I mean, if we're just talking the stoop, I think that could be any time. I believe the discussion in 2020 was that the tables can't be on the terrace during that time. So, yeah, if we were to limit it to just the stoop, then no, I don't think there needs to be any kind of time restriction.
Alder Posey.
Yeah, I remember discussing all this, and the idea of it being during COVID was a measure to allow for access when they couldn't be using indoors. It was a big piece of this. It was to allow them that opportunity to serve more people. So with that, I mean, I'd be fine keeping this stuff on the stoop. I think we are getting busier and busier, thankfully, and seeing more people, especially on weekends, going up and down the sidewalk. And I think keeping the stoop, but taking away that front area, the terrace, would be fine.
Alder Kemp.
I would agree with Alder Posey. At this point, I don't see a reason to have people on the terrace. However, if we pass this, I would like to see the limitation during the day taken off so they can put people not on the terrace, I'm sorry, on the stoop all during regular operating hours. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. So I don't know if I would need to offer an amendment to it or.
Well, there's no motion since there was no committee meeting, so basically someone can make the motion as they see fit,
All right.
and we'd work off of that.
And a question I posed to the council is, would Toot and Kate still be required to carry insurance listing the city of Verona and indemnification if we're not on the terrace?
I guess, Mr. Kleinmeyer, we're paying you to be here, so.
So, my belief is we do have other establishments that do have outdoor dining and drinking areas where if there's not necessarily that safety concern, we would not have those same requirements. I believe that that's true.
I believe the difference for this one, going back 3 years, was because it's the terrace area. It's in the right-of-way, it's on city property, versus the stoop is actually that business's property.
So I think you could get rid of that condition. The other condition that I think if this is a premises amendment for an alcohol license, really, you should just grant it, and then they're going to have to come back and get approval of a new alcohol license with a premise starting, like everyone else, effective July 1st. So I think you can get rid of the November 15th date condition, because I believe that probably really played a role related to COVID.
Does anyone want to take a crack at making a motion? Alder Host.
Another question, I guess, we don't necessarily care, that the stoop is not, it's not, I think there's other businesses there, I'm assuming that they've worked it out and that we can give them the whole stoop, even though it's not in front of I'm getting nods.
Yeah, ultimately, it's a tenant-landlord situation as well, and 3 years ago, I know they had the approval from the landlord and also the tenants in those spaces as well.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Posey.
I'll make one more comment. Just in the fact that while we are changing this, I do want to recognize that during the time they had that seating, I don't recall any issues with it, because I know it was also kind of an experiment. I know I'm a big fan. I come from, kind of the New York City area. Eating a sidewalk cafe is kind of a fun thing. So I do like outdoor dining as much as we can get it. And so I think it was great that they had that opportunity, but it is a busy spot to have that permanently. So I did want to recognize the owners and servers and everybody else who managed to have and the patrons managed to have a safe experience during that time.
And I was going to echo that. I have notes here that they've been a responsible business over the years. They've been a good partner to the community. They have good clientele, and we have very few issues there. And I'm not aware of anybody falling off the curb or anything like that. So, the track record's good, but there's still that risk.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Host.
I'll make a motion to approve an application for a liquor license premise amendment from Toot and Kate's Wine Bar, doing business as Toot and Kate's Wine Bar located at 109 South Main Street, Ryan Beechler, agent, with the understanding that this is for the addition of the stoop and not the terrace.
Does that pass muster, Mr. Kleinmeyer?
Yeah, I believe that that's the intent of the council. I guess the only question I have is typically when you have, it's more that they need to identify the premises. So I think you might want to add a condition there that they resubmit the exact, essentially, diagram of the premises that have been approved to the city, so that we have that on file.
Motion by Alder Host. Is there a second? Second by Alder Cronin. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the application for a liquor license premises amendment from Toot and Kate's Wine Bar LLC, doing business as Toot and Kate's Wine Bar located at 109 South Main Street, Ryan Bleckler, I'm sorry about that, agent, with the conditions specified by Mr. Kleinmeyer, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Item 2, Chief Dresser.
So there's a, use the actual language here. Approving a special event permit application and temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license from Jason Allen of Verona Little League for Hometown Days fundraiser on Saturday, June 3rd. So it is a fundraiser. It will be held at the Little League Park. And this is the first time they're doing the fundraiser in this fashion, whereas they already have a concession stand, and on the upper level of the concession stand, there is a balcony, and they want to use that balcony for alcohol sales. We have consulted with our building inspector for the city as well as the chief of the fire department, and they both came to a consensus that the occupancy levels would be about 66 people. There's one entrance and one exit. They would have a staff member there identifying or checking for proper age, as well as issuing wristbands as they went to the balcony and keeping a count of how many people are on the balcony. This is an all-day event. I believe they want to sell alcohol from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're obtaining the alcohol from General Beverage for resale, and this is just a one-day event. Police Department doesn't have any concerns. If there was a need for staffing, it is the same weekend as Hometown Days, and we don't have any additional staffing, but we don't see a need for staffing at this point.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Posey.
Isn't there usually a licensed bartender involved when we do these?
They have 2 licensed bartenders who are licensed in other communities, and that would be a contingency that they are both licensed through the city of Verona prior to this event.
Okay. I think the other thing is more of just a comment in general, and I see someone's paying attention in the back, which is I know that sometimes kids' sports can get a little contentious, as we are all aware, who have been sports parents, and adding alcohol to the mix does leave a level of concern. So I would be concerned, especially with 8 hours of alcohol. Some people aren't going to handle it well. So I hope you're planning and preparing for that. And I mean, I'm comfortable with it as a first time, see how it goes, but I would hope that that's all being paid attention to and tracked.
Other questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Kemp.
Yes, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion approving a special event permit application and temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license from Jason Allen for Verona Little League for Hometown Days fundraiser on Saturday, June 3rd.
Would that include the 3 contingencies in the packet?
Absolutely.
Yes, and just for the record, those are contingent upon final background check, receipt of certificate of insurance, and issuance of operator licenses for the event.
That's correct.
Motion by Alder Kemp. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Host. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Oh, yep. Alder Humphrey.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Is there an actual game going on during this time, or is this just truly like people getting together, like in sort of conjunction to her question before?
It's a tournament, so I believe there are 30 different teams that will be playing throughout the day. So I'm sure that the parents will be there for a game, or if they progress, perhaps more than a game. But yeah, there will be 30 teams there.
How? Okay, then I do have a follow-up question. I didn't realize that piece of it, I guess. How do we, like, if this is I'm not familiar with any of this, how it's monitored. Do you give instructions as to how to monitor for people who have been overserved? The weather could be nice. I personally have a child in organized baseball, and I see that happening, could see that potentially happening. So how do we communicate this to like the organizers of monitoring consumption and things like that? How do we?
Yeah, so to obtain their operator's license, they do have to take a course, and how they'd probably be able to tell us what that course is, safe serving or something or other, that I think educates people, the operators, on how to monitor that. And then it will be self-regulation. I mean, they will be monitoring their own event, and obviously if somebody becomes unruly, we would hope that they would call us if needed. But Yeah, and I understand the concerns that you had at sporting events, and sometimes parents, can get into it pretty good. The alcohol is contained to, the upper balcony, so if they want to have a drink, they have to go to that location, and they can't leave that location with the drink, so if they go back to the bleachers, they won't have a drink with them. I'm hopeful that would mitigate some of that concern.
Yeah, I know that you can see all the fields from that level, so I just want to be mindful. I think this is potentially an okay thing. I just want to make sure it goes well this year, I guess, is my thing, so.
Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving a special event permit application and temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license from Jason Allen, Verona Little League for Hometown Days fundraiser on Saturday, June 3rd, with the conditions specified in the packet, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 11, which is new business. First up, we have 11A, which is a discussion and possible action regarding approving an addendum to the agreement with Pelletary Waste Systems, Inc. for refuse and recycling collection and disposal. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. The proposed addendum would convert the city's existing 5-year contract for refuse and recycling with Pelletary to a 10-year contract that would expire on December 31st of 2031. As part of this addendum, the existing level of service would not change. The Public Works, Sewer, and Water Committee discussed the contract extension on February 13th of 2023 and had no concerns with extending the agreement. The city attorney has reviewed the draft addendum and has no concerns. Staff recommends the Common Council approve the addendum to the agreement with Pelletary Waste Systems, Inc. for refuse and recycling collection and disposal.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Humke.
I'll make a motion. I'll move to approve the addendum to the agreement with Pelletary Waste Systems, Inc. for refuse and recycling collection and disposal.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Maybe by Alder Tucker-Long? It was like a three-way tie. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the addendum to the agreement with Pelletary Waste Systems, Inc. for refuse and recycling collection and disposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next up, we have 11B, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the access easement agreement between MMSD and the city. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. The proposed permanent access easement with Madison Metropolitan Sewage District, also known as MMSD, will allow MMSD to use the existing gravel pathway that connects from Arborvitae Place to the existing paved path along the Badger Mill Creek. The easement only provides ingress and egress. Staff has no concerns with the request, as it will benefit the city and the utilities in this area. The city's third-party attorney reviewed the agreement and has no concerns. Staff recommends the Common Council approve the access easement agreement between MMSD and the city.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Alder Humke.
I move to approve the access easement agreement between MMSD and the city.
Motion by Alder Humke. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Kemp. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on this motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the access agreement between MMSD and the City of Verona, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to 11C, which is a discussion and possible action regarding resolution number 23-0117, authorizing the issuance of $2,275,520 of municipal revenue obligation to Kettle North Development, LLC. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. The proposed resolution would issue $2,275,520 of municipal revenue obligation, which is also called an MRO, bond to Kettle North Development on June 1st of 2023. In December of 2021 and February of 2022, the city executed development agreements with Kettle North Development for public improvements located in Tax Incremental District Number 8. These improvements are located in and around the intersection of County Highway M and County Highway PB. The improvements also include a water loop in the Verona Technology Park. The developer has completed the public improvements, and the MRO needs to be issued to the developer for completing the improvements. Staff recommends the Common Council approve the the resolution authorizing the issuance of a $2,275,520 MRO obligation to Kettle North Development LLC. Kind of some additional background on this. This is part of a development agreement that we executed back in 2021. As part of that, if the developer completed those improvements, we'd issue this MRO for what's called a pay-go TIF incentive, and these improvements have benefited that tax incremental district. I'd be happy answering questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments or motions? Alder Posey.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 23-017, authorizing the issuance of a $2,275,520 municipal revenue obligation to Kettle North Development LLC.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Kemp. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of resolution number 23-017, authorizing the issuance of $2,275,520 of municipal revenue obligation to Kettle North Development LLC, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to 11D, which is a discussion and possible action regarding an amendment to the Phase 1 of Whispering Coves Development Agreement. Can we get an overview in open session, Mr. Sayer?
Yes, you can. The Whispering Coves Phase 1 Development Agreement dated November 4th of 2021 and was recorded on November 12th of 2021. The agreement requires all public improvements to be completed within 18 months from the execution of the development agreement. To date, the public improvements have not been completed. The development agreement also states the city may draw on the letter of credit to pay all costs associated with completing the improvements. Staff is requesting a closed session with the Common Council to consider whether it's in the public's interest to draw on the letter of credit to complete the work or to draw on the letter of credit to ensure the site is in a condition where the city's assets are protected and the area is safe to the public. An amendment to the development agreement will be needed to address the failure to complete the public improvements within the required 18 months. Mr. Kleinmeyer is here as well. Happy to answer any kind of procedural process questions, I think, before closed session. Brian, anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main purpose for the going into the closed session is to discuss the terms and conditions of what would be an amendment to the development agreement, if that's the direction that the council wants to go.
I have a question for open session. Do we have an offer from the developer on this?
I mean, I think basically there's been discussions with them about a schedule for when the work would get done. And I think that what they've proposed, that the work would get done, I think by sometime in October of this year.
That's in the packet, so that was included in the council packet as well, too. So there's a schedule. It's hard to read, but that's what they propose, to kind of how to complete the project.
But sorry, I guess maybe I'm being pedantic, but is this like a formal, like their lawyer sent it over, or are they just kind of, I don't know?
I received that from I received it from Forward Development, and we're in the process of trying to get a meeting scheduled, set up for next week. So no, it did not come from their attorney, it came from staff.
Okay, so this is typical for Forward Development, where we're not getting solid stuff, and they're kind of just like brainstorming as they go. Is that kind of what's happening? Or that is my assessment. Does that seem like it's a realistic assessment?
You know, I think the schedule's on there. The meeting we're going to have next week is also with their contractor as well. So that's Pre-Z Construction. So they're the ones who kind of started this work as well. Okay. Ultimately, you know, if we do execute an amended development agreement, we can kind of talk in detail about what that could possibly look like in closed session. You know, I'm not really answering your question because I haven't met with them in person to really kind of tell you exactly what. We've exchanged emails as part of this.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was a legitimate good faith effort to come up with a schedule because my understanding is they did consult with the contractor to come up with that schedule. And in fact, that's one of the things that essentially Adam demanded as part of the email that he sent to them was, yes, we need a schedule from you, but we also need a schedule that your contractor has approved, because it's not going to do the council any good, I think, for the reasons the mayor just identified, for us to just hear from the developer when we also need to know from the folks who are going to be doing the actual, you know, work in the ground.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, it's probably worth discussion in closed session, but like, man, I would like to have this in open session because I have a lot of stuff to say, and I don't think I think I would say the same thing behind closed doors as I would in public.
Well, I would say that as we always have on our agenda language, we always have the ability to convene in closed session, and then if you so choose, you have the ability to come in open session and have further discussion if you'd like. So I do think that we'd like, at a staff level, to talk about potential terms and conditions of an amendment, but that doesn't preclude a future open session discussion.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Anything else for open session? Alder Tucker Long.
Are we able to make a quick comment that's off topic at this point before we go into closed session?
Is it in regards to the Whispering Coves thing?
No.
Then no.
Okay.
So, any other comments or questions for open session? If anyone would like to go into closed session, now would be the time to make the motion. Alder Cronin.
I will make a motion to move into closed session for discussion and possible action regarding an amendment to the Phase 1 Whispering Coves Development Agreement. The Common Council may convene in closed session as authorized by Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Paren 1, Paren E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the investing of public funds or conducting other specified public business wherever competitive or whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The Common Council may reconvene in open session and take action on the closed session item.
Motion by Alder Cronin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Kemp. The motion to go into closed session is, of course, a roll call vote. If clerk would read the roll.
Alderperson Cronin.
Aye.
Alderperson Helmke.
Aye.
Alderperson Hoax.
Aye.
Alderperson Kemp.
Aye.
Alderperson Posey.
Aye.
And Alderperson Tucker Long.
Aye.
Motion passes to go into closed session. We will go into closed session as soon as the room is cleared out.
talk to you tomorrow. I'll be around. Have a good night.
All right, it is 8:28 PM, and we are back in open session. Any comments for open session? We expect staff to do some further, I guess, work on the project, and we'll probably be making a decision at the June 12th meeting, but stay tuned. With that, we'll move on to item 12, which is adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Alder Kemp. Is there a second? Second by Alder Humke. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we are adjourned at 8:28 PM. Thank you, everyone.